Hi, everybody, and welcome back. It's Benita Hudson here with your May forecast. Should be an exciting month. As a lot of you know, Tillman and I are moving to Nanaimo. So we're in transition right now. We're staying with friends until we go next week to Nanaimo and move into our new home. So I'm excited about what's transitioning in our lives. I'm so excited about what's transitioning in yours. And again, I hate to have to say it, but just a reminder, sometimes people come on when I'm broadcasting and they try to solicit my viewers to offer them a reading. And I don't do that. So just know, even if they use my name, it's not me. The other thing I wanted to emphasize is that this coming Sunday is the last day to see me in person in Kelowna for a while. I will be back in June for a couple of days. Those days are already booking up. So if you did want to see me in person in June, reach out to me now to get in. And I'm doing the same thing for a couple of days in September. And I will be back for the Mystic Affair event in November. And of course, I'm available to you 7 days and evenings a week by Zoom. So let's see what our forecast is for today. We will have a look. Only one of the die fell off the mat today, so this should be fairly detailed and busy. And I will try to come back this afternoon to do some live mini readings as well. So let's just get to where we are now. First thing we want to look at is the chaos die and the fate die, because sometimes that moves things around on us. And we will look for the chaos die first. And it is sitting in foundation, which is always interesting. And the image on it is, I know it's hard to see here, it's like a die face. So let's just see what that one is. And it's basically called dice, and it says grab a random die that was not rolled in this reading, and add it to the reading in place of this die. Okay, so we're going to remove our chaos die, and the one that fell out of the reading, funnily enough, we're going to put it right in with the face up that was there. So I just think that's so cool. One die falls off the spread and doesn't end up in the reading, and now it's in the reading. I just love the way this works. So if you're curious, this is the Publishing Goblins Oracle dice set, second edition. It's well worth having if you can still get it through. It's a Kickstarter. Then definitely look for it online. It's an amazing set and it's well worth having. Okay, we're going to also check out the fate die because sometimes it gets us to move things around on the mat. So today the fate die is sitting, interesting enough, straddling fated and the past, and it shows a hand with a couple of cards. So there you go. And we're going to see what it tells us to do. Okay, so it says fold. It's called fold. Fold is for all intents and purposes the face of losing. It speaks to unwinnable situations or ones you've accepted and moved on from. Sometimes it's just the case there was no way to win in the moment. So, since it is basically straddling fated and the past, I would take that to mean it's a situation from your past you can't change. It was part of your soul's journey. Accept it and move on and don't hang on to it. And if you call last month, that was one of the things that was emphasized was to accept the past and move on from it and not keep referring back to it and bringing that energy forward in your life. Yeah, so that's basically what it says about that. So we don't need to move any die because of the fated die at the moment. So we will go all the way back to the beginning. And the card that influences this one is called the Baron of Autumn. So when we come across him, we'll see how he influences the spread as well. So our actions die today is sitting where? It is sitting in the present. And you can see it kind of looks like a face, but with a sword. It's kind of an interesting one. And it's called Judgment. So it's basically saying it asks you to do that. but often within the context of the reading. The question is about whether you should take a new job or not. It's not really a big question of moral or immoral. It's a question of pros and cons of what has real weight to be good in your life. Don't let the choice be made for you. Determine what's right for yourself. So in the present, if you've got a major situation coming up, you might hear what other people have to say about it, but ultimately it's your decision to make. So that's really strongly being emphasized in the present is, you need to make a decision about this situation. Okay, going on to the Alchemist die. And it is also showing up in the present. And it is copper. That's what the face looks like. And it's like a lightning rod. It gathers energy around it. And so its power can grow easily. It can also be harsh and dangerous. It's asking you to look into what things in your life fuel you or the people you have attracted. So again, when you look at it in terms of you have a decision to make, one of the things I'll often say is that if you are placing intent for the future, look at who are you spending time with, what are you doing, and what are the things you think about? And are they moving you in the direction of your aim? Or are they anchoring you to the past or distracting you, moving you off in a direction that's not going for you? So it's basically saying, pay attention to that. The decision you make is charged with the energy of your intent. Okay. The alley die is sitting, where is it sitting today? It is sitting in the past, and we have this eye. And it's about the truth. So it says, it asks you to see something just for what it is and stop placing unnecessary weight on things. So isn't that interesting that we have in the past that dice that said, something happened, can't change it, was meant to be, get over it, and don't place so much weight on things in the past. Live in the present. What's going on now? What do you need to focus on now? It's too easy to say from the past, well, this happened, and therefore I can't really change things. This happened, and this is the way I am. And we can really be defeatists around setting our goals if we say, well, I can't really change that because of what happened in the past. We always have a choice over how we respond to life's circumstances. Don't let anybody take that choice away from you by making you think you don't have one. You always have a choice. Okay, now we have the attentions die. And the attentions die is showing up where? Aha, it is showing up just on the periphery of the past in the history section. And we're getting the neon one. I know it probably looks backward on here, but it says neon, trust me. Okay. And so the neon one says, it tells you something glitzy and glamoury to distract you from understanding something in the plain light of day. It doesn't want you to see the dirt of the floors of the places are, just to feel a vibe, a theme, or a mood. So again, I would say in relation to what we're getting for the past, don't let the drama of your past keep you from moving forward. Try to be as concrete and pragmatic as possible about your past experiences. So that's the big thing here. Don't let the past hold you back. Okay, the autumn die is sitting where? Okay, it's also sitting in our past. And what we have is this really cool looking skull. Okay. And it's the equivalent of the tarot death card. It speaks to something ending. And so again, it's saying your past is over. Don't let it influence you going forward. Let it go. Move on. It's done. Okay? You're really getting a very strong emphasis in this spread, just as we got last month, but I'd say even stronger this month. The past is done. Don't think about it. Don't focus on it. Don't make it informing of the present or the future. Let it go. move on. So one way you can do it is, instead of going, well, because of the past, blah, 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 you can say, because of what I have learned from my experiences, I am applying that knowledge going forward in this way. And then instead of ruining the past or being miserable or upset about it, you can have gratitude for lessons learned and how you're applying them going forward. Okay. The chaos die we've already done. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is going to be posted also on my YouTube channel. So you will be able to follow from the beginning. The elements die. The elements die is under fated. And we have this little heart. And it's the soul dice. And so it says, soul is identity and permanence in our human capacity to love. Never forget the world you live in and to remember your place in it. We are community, we're groups building on one another for one another. So in other words, under fated, it's saying even if you're going through challenges, you're not alone. There's community to support you. There's other people going through the same thing. So that can help support you in the understanding that you're not alone in the things that are happening in your life. And you can take comfort in that. You know, you might have seen in the past me talk about that Buddhist practice where you imagine breathing in the suffering of everybody in the world who's going through what you're going through and exhaling compassion for them and yourself. And if you keep doing that, it's going to get you very grounded and it's going to give you the energy to move forward because you won't slip into poor me and into the isolation of feeling you're the only person going through that. It'll actually help you go, okay, yeah, other people are dealing with this as well. And I can deal with this. And one way of thinking about it as well is somewhere in the world, somebody has overcome what you're going through. And if it's possible for them, it's possible for you too. Okay. So that was our soul. Moving on, we've done the fate die. And the goblin die is way out in our history. Hi, Annika. Thanks for jumping in and watching, everybody. I appreciate it. So there's the cute little goblin die he's struck by lightning, right? Like he's got an idea. So he's showing up in our history. And it's called inspiration. So it speaks to outside forces coming to act before and within you. So if you think about it, everything you've been through in the past, even if it was hard, can be part of your inspiration. It can help you move forward by looking at like I said before, what am I learning from this? How do I apply that going forward? So whatever you've been through has a practical basis now for what you're going to do next, rather than getting stuck in, well, this is what happened. This is what happened. It's, okay, how am I growing from what happened? We always have that choice. And I've mentioned it before. I highly recommend Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. If somebody can derive meaning and hope from living in a concentration camp, we can overcome our stuff too. It's an excellent book to read. Okay. The influences die. I'm just going to check back in case that card showed up because I think I might have missed it. I always pull a card that's an influence for this deck. Just going to check back and see if I've already passed it. Yeah, it showed up for the autumn die. So it says, when a Baron comes in a reading, he brings with him the overwhelming and somehow still subtle presence of autumn. He asks you plainly, what have you been working on? He asks without cruelty, without shame. He knows your pace is your own. He really wants to know what progress you are making. He warns you, reminds you that time will come when you can't do the work anymore. If you want it done, you want it in your hands complete, you must keep going. So that is the emphasis for this reading. And we're already seeing it's very pragmatic. Let the past go. What are you learning? You noticed with the present, it said you have a decision to make. And there's a lot of energy riding on that decision. So there's an exactness, a thrust with this spread for May. What are you getting done? What are you focusing on? What are you going to do? Forget about the past. Don't let it distract you. What are you doing now? Strong emphasis on action for this month. Okay, the influences die is this one. So it's sitting also in the past, lots of emphasis on getting over the past, but being really clear about it. So it looks like the sun shining on, is that a flower? I think it's a flower. So let's see what it has to say. I've not picked that one before. Sun and flower. It means exactly this, a purely supportive, positive relationship with a mentor, a parent, a guardian, a friend who just wants to see the querent grow. Or perhaps the querent is the sun, raising and supporting, lifting up another. In any case, it's entirely positive. So what it's saying is your past, if you can't get over it, you might need the help of a coach like myself or another person with whom you resonate or a friend, or because of what you've experienced in the past, you now have a certain wisdom that you might be able to help others going through similar circumstances. You'll often hear me say when I'm doing a session, whatever you've been through in life is your training for the gifts you're here to offer. So keep that in mind. Whatever's happened to you is your training for the gifts you're here to offer. Hi, Tanya. Nice to see you here too. Okay. We are moving on to the kindness die, which is sitting in the future. And this one is stitches. So you'll see a little needle and stitches there. And it speaks to the need for mending or the reminder that things have been mended, and perhaps even who did it. It's not to say that anything's owed, but merely care and attention was had. And a reminder of that person's care for you or vice versa may be important. So it's showing up under fated. So when I see that one, it's basically saying, understand that either you are mended or mending, and think about the people who have helped with that along the way. In other words, stop seeing yourself as wounded. Don't make excuses for yourself that, well, I can't do that because I've been through this. Again, this is a really pull you up by the bootstraps kind of reading, saying, no, you're mending. You're no longer damaged. You're growing. So thank the people who've helped you along the way and realize that everything you've been through has led you to this point where you're ready for the next step because you're stronger than maybe you even have imagined yourself to be. So keep that in mind. All right, the longings die shows up under beyond, and it's this hand. I'll show you that. And it's called touch. Touch is most often simply about the need for human connection. So it could be sexual, it could be platonic, but it's a need to be touched. It can also be the need to grasp something firmly, to hold on to something that brings joy or fulfills a need. So the fact that it's showing up under the present, but it's showing up as beyond, suggests that for that need to be fulfilled, either to be touched or in connection with people or to grasp something important, you're going to have to make a decision you've been avoiding for that connection to open up for you. You're going to have to do something. It's kind of like if you go on a date with somebody and maybe they're really different and maybe something about them is unnerving because they're not the familiar people you've dated before, but maybe the people you've dated before haven't been right and you've continued to date the same kind of person. So there's something maybe a little unnerving because your psyche doesn't know what to do with that person who's outside of your norm. In which case, making the decision to keep going and see what this is might lead you to the most extraordinary relationship you've ever had. Or it might be a job situation where you go, well, I don't know if I can do that. I'm excited about it. I want to, don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to take the chance of applying for it. And if I have to learn as I go along, that's what I'll do. I can't tell you how many wonderful things have occurred in my life when I was willing to say, this is outside of everything I've ever understood that I could have or do or be, but I'm going to go for it. And it's always been the best decision because standing still, shrinking, those are not decisions that are going to lead to your growth. They are not decisions the universe will ever support, and they will never fulfill you or take you where you need to go. The universe will not support you standing still or shrinking from your path. So if you need to move forward and make that decision, including stepping into the unknown, I encourage you to do that. You'll never know what's waiting for you if you don't take that chance. Okay. The next one is the Major's die, sitting under Fated, and it is the binary one. Okay. So binary is an important part of life. It has two main functions as a die face. On the one hand, it speaks to the mistaken idea that things are either true or false, successful or failures. It's often requesting that you think about looking at this with a broader understanding. Failure is a learning experience. So in other words, it's saying under Fated, hello, Karen. Thank you. She says, hello, beautiful. Mwah. Right back at you. Think of this as if you stop worrying about failure, if you see every experience you ever have as helping you learn and grow and ultimately make better decisions, then there's no such thing as failure. Failure is when you know that you should be looking at something and you just refuse to look at it. Yeah, I don't want to see it. I don't want to look at it because it's uncomfortable or it's unknown. So it's saying, just look on it as this is all part of the growth experience. Everything that happens, it's part of the growth experience. Something's a hiccup, something doesn't go the way you thought it should. See it as the universe offering you an opportunity no matter what. It sometimes the things that we look at, like we had some hiccups with some of our decisions and things we were trying to accomplish with our move. And when we look back, they turned out to be blessings. So sometimes something immediately that just appears to be an obstacle, if you're willing to set that aside and not beat yourself up or get mad at the situation because it's not taking you where you think you want to go, it might actually be taking you to a better situation. So suspend that belief that things are either good or bad and be willing to look at the gray area. Like, okay, this has happened. Good morning, Kevin. This has happened. So I might not know why it's happening right now. I might not know why this apparent spanner in the works is occurring, but I'm going to trust there's a purpose to it, even if I can't see that right now. Ultimately, everything's taking us where we need to go if we aren't trying to control for everything. A lot of times our desire to control for outcome actually holds us back. It actually skews the situation and things don't go the way we had hoped they would. So if something's changing, if something changes your plans in some way, see if you can move into that space of, okay, why is the universe shifting me in this direction? Why is it closing that door? What window is opening? There's always a window opening. Sometimes we have to be patient and receptive to allow that opportunity to come. If we're pushing everything away, trying to get where we think we need to go, we might miss that opportunity. That's something to think about. Okay. Next, we have the Mariner's die. And the Mariner's die is sitting right where? Okay, it's under Fated. And what you see is a beautiful sun over the water. And it's called Ocean, which I think is kind of cool because I'm moving near the ocean. Yay! Um, So it says ocean is unpredictability, a sea of water and change. It can in one look be beautiful and in the next destructive. The ocean speaks to change, constant, amoral, and without thought. The world around you, the situations you end up in, the people, the opinions. Things shift because they always do. But this kind of change is the kind which comes from a place without intentions for you. Change grander than you, unaware of your needs and desires. And this comes back to what I was just saying. And it's falling under fated, saying changes that occur, you can take them personally. Oh, the universe is against me. Or you can say, no, everything is constantly changing. This world is one of impermanence. So instead of feeling like, well, I've got to take this personally, this is being done to me. No, the universe is generated from you. So if something happens in your external reality that, didn't go the way you thought it should, trust that there is a larger order to the universe that has a better idea of what's good for you, and it will take you there. Yes, they talk here about it being impersonal, but there is an order to the universe, and we're part of that order. So if we just allow ourselves to move in the direction we're guided, we're going to be part of that greater order in a way that makes sense in that order, instead of trying to create our own order, which can run counter to the way the universe naturally goes. If you always work in alignment with the universe, you're always going to flow where you're supposed to. It doesn't always mean things will get easier. Sometimes they'll be harder, but you'll learn whatever your soul came here to learn in this lifetime. And if you walk your path and you do what you're here to do, the universe will support that. So whenever something happens that feels like a big hiccup for you and you go, well, that's ruined my plans, that didn't go the way I thought it should, instead realize there is a greater order at work. That concept, let go and let God. There is a greater order that it's like when you look at nature, nature just works when we don't screw with it. Nature just works. There's an underlying intelligence and balance to it. And we're meant to be part of that when we don't have the hubris of thinking we know better and trying to work against what is. So, something to think about. All right. Very interesting how many of the die showed up under the past and fated, really saying everything is laid out the way it's supposed to be. Everything's happening the way it's supposed to. Just work with it. Work with it the way it's working. So now we look at the metamorphosis die. And that is showing up also under fated. And it's this one's hard to see, but it's a chrysalis. And this one is the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis, which sounds right. It's the moment after the long change, the transmutation of self. You're now in a new place, a new state of being, and the world can see what you have done. Remember that even if you've labored long on this is the first time for anyone else to see it. You've become something new. So there's a real emphasis here that when we look at this, it's saying change is occurring. This change is meant to occur. Don't fight it. Move with it. The universe is trying to help you go through the death rebirth that takes you somewhere new. So move with it. Don't fight it. See where it's going to take you. Okay. The obstacles die is falling under, it's actually in the core today. And it's like the tower card. So you see this crumbling tower. So we're going to look at that as part of the core reading. And it's called ruin. So it speaks to a calamity occurring or about to occur, something that has or will irrevocably change your life. The face itself is almost always negative, harsh, or difficult. That doesn't mean what comes from it has to be. Sometimes the worst things in life help us remember the best things or force us to reconsider what we're doing, changing our lives for the better. Do not lose hope. The sun comes after the rain. I also see this as, again, the concept of impermanence. You build the tower crumbles down. You build another tower. So impermanence here, that something is going to shift. Maybe the rug will get pulled out from under you this month. Best laid plans don't go the way you thought they should. But somehow they work out in the end. Remember, the universe will take you where you need to go if you don't fight it and go, well, this shouldn't be happening. Instead, how do I work with this? How do I gracefully ride the tide and see where it takes me? Okay? Okay. Now, the relationships die was the one that the chaos die said, put it on the mat. It was the only one that fell off the mat. And it comes up under foundation. And you see two people together. Okay. And it's basically saying, when found, know that it relates to a group of people who are close or interconnected. It always speaks to those people still being close and connected, even if that doesn't remain the case in the future. So under your foundation, it says, rely on the people you have a close connection with, rather than think you have to do it all yourself. A lot of times, that concept of dysfunctional independence, I have to do it all myself, I will do it all myself. We even have earlier in the reading the idea of working with a coach or a friend, but working with people to move out of the past, because it's coming out of the past and into the present. If there's something you're struggling with that you're having a hard time moving through, that's the time to reach out to somebody you trust. We're not supposed to do it all alone. That's part of what happens with abuse, is we think we're alone in the world and we have to figure it all out ourselves and we can't rely on anybody. That's a lie. There's always people there for you if you're willing to reach out and be vulnerable with the right people. But you'll never know who they are if you don't reach out. So think about somebody, maybe it's your default not to trust because you've been hurt so many times. Think of somebody who's never consciously, knowingly broken your trust, and take the risk of trusting that person and see how it goes. The main thing is to always trust yourself, that even if something doesn't go well, you can always rely on you to move through it. That's ultimately where our trust needs to go. Okay, our next die is also in the present, and it is the spring die, and it's called whimsy. So it's like this hand tossing leaves in the air, and it says it speaks to the presence of a person, being in a sort of, and somebody other than yourself, being in a wild seeming control. So when it relates to yourself, though, it might mean you're the kind of person to take random actions, jump after the side's interest, or just be hard to read or lock down. It can be joyful and fun. It can be a friend who's delightfully random. So whimsy is showing up interestingly with this one that says you've got a decision to make, and this other one saying there's a lot of energy around this decision. Whimsy is suggesting make the decision, but don't take yourself so seriously. Don't be so afraid of making a mistake that you just stay frozen and you don't make a decision. Sometimes we have to make a decision to find out what's the outcome. How are things going to go? How is this going to work? I have to actually try something to learn from it. And then if there's an adjustment that needs to be made, I make it, which is often far better than just being paralyzed and making no decision because you're so afraid of getting it wrong. That's not how we learn and grow. We look at children. How do they learn to walk? They fall down a lot first. How do we learn to read or write? We make a lot of mistakes. Don't be afraid as an adult of making mistakes. That's so much better. That's so much more about really living than trying never to make a mistake. So what if you look foolish? We all look foolish. That's part of life. When we take ourselves too seriously, we stop growing, and that's a shame. So yeah, make this decision. Put the energy into that needs to be put into it. See where it takes you. Okay. The next is the suits die. And the suits die falls under where? It falls under, it's just past momentum and over future. So it is true. I'm back. So that's the suits die. It means anything can fill a cup. Emotions are manifold, especially those that come through intensely: anger, love, rage, the desire for justice. Cups are finite and easily overfilled. Be sure to check your emotions when you see the cup's face. The related dice may be leading you to understand what is overflowing and causing problems. So there's very few die showing up in the future. That is one of them. So it's saying with this situation that's going to occur this month that may pull the rug out from under you, Don't let your emotions get the better of you. Take some deep breaths, try to calm yourself, and realize you're going to come out of this. You're going to come out the other side. It's not going to rule your life. What it might do, though, and this is often what the universe does, it will trigger powerful emotions so you can work on the core patterns underlying those emotions. A lot of times, when you're doing something big, like for example, we're moving to the island, that's a big shift. Part of the way the universe supports that shift is to trigger any core patterns that need to be worked on to help you shift to become the person that's a reflection of the place you're going. So whether you're making a big shift in your location or your job or relationship, there's probably going to be upheaval because those patterns are going to come up. So you'll work on them. If you're always hoping everything isn't going to create upheaval for you, that's just not how life works. That's not how growth works. Every time we place intent for a big change, we are shifting paradigms. And part of shifting paradigms is you're going to have the upheaval that brings up whatever needs to be worked on so that you then fit that new paradigm. Expect it, allow for it, try not to fear it, but just go, okay, I'm making a big change in life. There's probably going to be things internally that need to shift. So when I get there, I'm ready for it. It's not so jarring. Therefore, whatever comes up now, I need to face it, be open to it, and work on it so the universe can prepare me for that big change. Okay, so enough said about that. The summer die. The summer die shows up also in the core. And what we see here is something being put in somebody's hand. So this might temper the one that says, this is going to be bad. And it's called gain. So when it shows up in the core, it usually speaks to the methods we've been earning our life. Has our job taken over our life? Do we live to do nothing but earn more money? Or perhaps it's the thing we're lacking, living in eternal debt and a deficit we likely will never climb out from underneath. Earnings are, in a world that cares about money, one of the most important things we can focus on. So it's suggesting you need to look in this situation. For example, that upheaval may cause you to have to spend money you didn't think you were going to have to spend, may cause you to look at, how am I earning money? Have I become complacent? Have I accepted a situation that's no longer working for me? Am I being challenged to look at other ways to earn money? Am I being challenged to recognize that the work I'm doing isn't aligned with my purpose? Or maybe there's something that needs to be added to that, needs to expand to be aligned with my purpose. So those shakeups the shakeup we're looking at for May can very much trigger the core pattern that ultimately really is the survival pattern. If we feel in any way like our survival is at stake, we can feel really threatened by that. And remember that, disaster is the mother of invention. A lot of times, unless something really feels wrong for us, we won't make a decision to change up our path. I used to, volunteer at a crisis center, and one day people walked in and closed the place down and moved everybody out. The center was being closed down. The government was no longer funding it. And the staff working there, this happened very suddenly, and they all had to go out and find new jobs. And a lot of them, I think, were very comfortable in that environment. They were used to it. It's what they did. It become a pattern for them, and it shook them up. And they had to step out of that environment. They were literally being removed from their cocoon to spread their wings and go somewhere new. Lots of upheaval, but I actually connected with one of them afterwards. She was really happy in the new situation she landed in. So we don't always know that there's something better for us until the universe gives us a kick in the butt and says, yep, you don't belong here anymore. You need to spread your wings. You need to move on. And yeah, it's going to be really uncomfortable at first and scary, but you'll get through it. It'll be okay. You just have to be willing to go there, right? It's like when I moved here into Kelowna from Ontario in 2011, I had 1 month's income in my bank account. And just the knowledge that I was supposed to live in Kelowna. And I got here and I'd go to all these referral group meetings and hand out my business cards and go home at night and stew in my own terror. My poor little ego was going, oh, what if this doesn't work out? We end up on the street eating cat food. And all I could do is say to my ego, well, I know we're supposed to be here, so somehow it's going to work out. And it did. And, back on that journey again, there's a lot of unknowns. We're seeing all the signs the universe is putting in front of us saying, yes, you're supposed to go to Nanaimo. Yes, this is on your path. Does it mean it'll be a smooth path? Maybe, maybe not. But it's about trusting the path and continuing to step forward into the openings provided. And if an obstacle appears, trusting there's a purpose to that obstacle. What is that bringing up for us? What do we get to look at because of that? How do we get to grow? Try to apply that to whatever challenges you're facing in your life. It'll allow you to grow no matter what, which is ultimately what we're all here to do, is to wake up before we die, to become as conscious as possible. And that work is never easy and it's never comfortable. So the last die we're looking at is the winter die. And that one, I think it's actually one of the last die, is the mirror. It also sits in the core. So this is meant to give advice. And it's advice or introspection on the current event. So it's something you need to understand about your own mentality and situation and, where you're coming from with it. So sometimes it will undermine everything we're saying, and we may actually feel emboldened to act on our beliefs that previously we had doubts on. So again, it's hearkening to the idea that whatever's fated, you can look on this as, in what way is this advising me to grow? In what way is this helping me to become the person I came here to be? How is this benefiting me? In what way can I see this as the universe advising and guiding me? Okay. And the last one is the wounds die. It falls under the future and it shows a scar. And it's basically saying it represents a trauma that scarred your mind or spirit, a wound that never goes away and that stays with you wherever you go. It can also refer to fresh wounds that will scar, a warning that the pain will stay with you in its ways. Loss and trauma are often like this, things that never stop being a harm done to us, but that do over time become another piece of who we are, rather than something external to ourselves. Here's how I see the importance of that particular die. A lot of times when the rug gets pulled out from under us, we see it as, well, that's just the way it is and nothing's ever going to get better and this just sucks. And how do I get back to who I was before I had this experience? So with this die, the important thing to remember is you're not going to try to get back to who you were. You're going to grow from this. You're going to change as a result of this. You're not going to be the same person. And why would you want to be? Our traumas, our wounds add a dimension to us. They expand who we are. They dig up from inside of us the stuff we don't want to look at. So it can become conscious. It can integrate with the whole of us, and it can start to also inform our decisions. We make better decisions when there's more of us present. Those traumas, those wounds bring the stuff up that's been dormant inside of us, maybe for decades, and brings that energy forward so that when we go to make a decision the next time, we're checking in, we're consulting with that energy. What do you think? How do you feel about this? And then we tend to go in a direction that all the parts of us agree on instead of that one loud ego consciousness always getting its way. So when I look at this overall spread for May, we get a very clear message. The past is in the past. If it's still affecting you, reach out to a coach or a friend, but reach out to somebody to move through that because you're not supposed to drag that forward. There's going to be some upheaval this month. It might be quite powerful upheaval. It's going to make you look at your resources, how you use them, whether you need to change that, change how you work, change how you earn. It's also going to trigger that survival pattern, which that core pattern is often one of the most powerful ones we can work with that can make us really say, do I need to change my job? Do I need to create a job for myself? Do I need to look at how I feel about my self-worth? We've got a major decision to make this month. There's a lot of energy behind that decision. But we also get the whimsy one, which says, but it's okay. If you make a decision and it doesn't work out, you can make another decision. Don't take it too seriously. And remember the touch one, saying you're wanting contact, you're wanting connection. You can't get it if you don't make this decision. Don't isolate yourself and stay in place. Movement is necessary. With the future, don't get caught up in your emotional state. Recognize the traumas you experience are meant to help you grow, incorporate them, move forward. Don't get stuck in the storyline around that. Okay? And under fate, it's saying, this is guidance. This was all meant to happen. You're going to bloom as a result. Even if you can't see that right now, it's fated to be. So a powerful month of change. I will post this. So if you've only caught part of it, you will get to see the rest. And I will try to find time later today or in the next few days to come in and do some free mini readings. Just a reminder, I'm in Kelowna, available to you this coming Sunday in person and always by Zoom. So if you don't get to see me in person, you can always reach out to me and connect with me on Zoom 7 days and evenings a week. And the advantage of a Zoom session is you get a video afterwards that shows you all the cards I've worked with. So I'll always be available to you, even when I've moved. But if you're craving an in-person visit, Sunday is available this coming week. Book it up before it's gone so you're not disappointed. I've got a couple of days in June I'm coming back to Kelowna. They're already booking up. Got a couple of days I'm coming back in September. So I've let you know now when I'm available, and I'll pop in and try and do some mini readings in the next few days. Thank you guys for all of your incredible support since 2011, since I moved here. My business has been built on your referrals, on your patronage. I couldn't have done it without you. You have no idea how important you are to me. I love you all dearly. I'm so incredibly inspired by you because I've seen you come to me with the stuff you're struggling with and the work, the hard work you've done to face your own demons and work through them, to step into your power and become all you're here to be. And I've gotten to bear witness to that and support it along the way. And that's the greatest gift you could give me. So I want to thank you all so much for my time in this community, for being my community. And yeah, I'm not disappearing. And if you are in Nanaimo, please come look me up. I already have an office there, and I'll be in touch. I'll be around. So thank you guys. Mwah. Love you all. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.